Hey everyone, how's it going? Matthew here. Welcome back to the Movie Mates review on the channel. I'm joined by my wonderful co-host and best friend.
Oh,
Hey man, great to see you. Now, on today's show, we're reviewing what is the latest Disney live action release. We love doing these. We've done all the Disney animated films and we've done quite a bit of the live action stuff as well. Hopefully, we'll go to some of the more recent ones sometime soon. But today it's the film Jungle Cruise starring The Rock and Emily Blunt. So I'll pass over to Cam to explain what this film's about because strangely, it's not based in any source material as such. To my knowledge, it
no.
is strictly a Disney ride. So I'll pass over to Callum to explain the gist of our discussion. Off to you, man.
Yes, in the vein of Pirates of the Caribbean, this is solely based on Disney ride, one that I think neither of us have been on. Maybe Matthew has. I've never been to America before, and I don't believe that this one is at Disneyland Paris, which is the only one that I've attended. This film, I expected it to be the standard like Dwayne Johnson vanity project, where he gets the rights, he's a big producer, he puts himself as the star, and then it's dog shit. I mean, I can't call one to reference, but that's how I saw it playing out, especially based on the idea that it was based on a ride. So this film has Dwayne Johnson, Emily Blunt. It's an Indiana Jones style adventure, where they're going after this MacGuffin. You would think it would be pretty standard fare, but I think we can both agree it sort of rises above its very basic premise.
Yeah, certainly. Just when I was introducing the video, I nearly called it Jumanji there because, there are a lot of films that I guess are quite similar to this, starring The Rock as well, Jumanji is one of them. I think he's in, Journey to the Mysterious Island. So, those similar sort of adventure type films. But this one is actually surprisingly good. Jumanji I actually enjoy as well. But I think so far, a lot of the Rock's films can be quite hit or miss. There's some of them I really like, some of them, not really my thing. I think the Tooth Fairy springs to mind as what maybe not one of his best. But certainly, this one really surprised me, and it's also worth noting. I think this was my favorite cinema experience because we had sort of went to this sort of local cinema where we live called the Strand, and we had heard things about it, but honestly, this screen, it was absolutely incredible, wasn't it, man? It was
Bit
just
bright,
beautiful. it
not gonna
was it
lie,
was very bright. It was very bright, but the whole surroundings and the atmosphere was fantastic. Yeah, I had a really good time. Um but yeah, just before we kick off the review, thank you very much for everyone who supported us recently, especially with our 100th episode special videos and our sort of in-person vids as well, or like get to know us and who knows who best. We really do appreciate that. And of course, iTunes link on our email, all that stuff is in the description as well as time codes as well. So mate, are we gonna go non-spoiler and spoiler, or what were you thinking?
I think it's been out a fair while.
Yeah.
So I've just approached spoiler thoughts. That this is if you didn't know, if you haven't seen the film, I'd say click off. But if you haven't seen it in cinemas, which we were sort of privileged to be able to do, based on the restrictions here, and the policies that they have here, we were able to see the film. But if you aren't able to see it in the cinema, it's available on Disney Plus. It's one of the day and date release films that they're an approach that doesn't seem to be working out behind the scenes. Of course, Scarlett Johansson is suing Disney with rumors that Emily Blunt and Emma Stone are next in line to do so. So I mean, it hasn't worked out as a policy, but for the sake of seeing things, when you're too worried to go to the cinema, it's a convenient policy for the consumer.
Certainly, man. So yeah, man, I'll let you open the floor with your notes in the film, and I'll chip in where I can, as always.
So there were obvious concerns, based on the typecasting that we normally see for Dwayne Johnson, that it was going to be this kind of self-centered film where he was the most important character in the film. But the principal character is actually Emily Blunt's character Lily. Came across incredibly likable to me. The Indiana Jones comparisons are the Indiana fuck my life. The Indiana Jones comparisons are pretty obvious. But, I think she has the moral high ground over him, which I think leads to higher levels of likability for me. Because she actually wants to help people. She doesn't want to steal from an indigenous culture.
Yeah, definitely. I think Emily Blunt's character is the highlight of the film, and surprisingly, the main character, like you said, when any film has The Rock in it, no matter who he's playing, he's going to be a big presence there. And I think for me, Emily Blunt definitely holds her own there. She's fantastic here. She's so likable, so warm on screen, and you just get the vibe that she's just such a likable, do good character, really, who can do no wrong. And it's funny because throughout the film, there is a decent amount of suspense built in terms of the Rock's character. Frank. Is he a good guy? Because is he a bad guy? He's throughout the film he's been caught out on his lies, and you kind of think, okay, is there going to be a slight villain presence there? Because it's left sort of it's left quite unclear until the very end, really. You know what I mean? At least that's drawn out for a large proportion of the film. So um yeah, I feel like Emily Blunt definitely did hold her own, and in fact probably was the standard of the film for me. Not that The Rock was bad, but I thought she was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, the Rock doesn't have a huge range, but I think when you're boxed in typecast personality is very warm, likable, guy. I mean, you can't exactly
Yeah,
criticize that perception of yourself. If you had to be typecast as one thing, I mean, you don't want to be Jesse Plemons, who's also in this film, who's clearly typecast as a weird creep. Because I mean,
yeah,
I've never seen him play, a character with any dignity or or a good person.
yeah.
I'd say that's the kind of thing I'd like to see him in next. Because I mean, Game Night, weird creep, Black Mirror, weird creep. Uh,
You're just in the Black
can't think of
Messiah.
many things. Weird creep. Judas and the
Yeah,
Black Messiah, weird creep, and a racist. It's not
it's
a
not the
good
best
character
CV.
filmography. Obviously
Yeah.
he performs those performances. He 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 gives those performances very well. We're very tired.
We're
It's
wrecked.
it's 10 p.m. Uh, you know,
Oh.
uh,
We've done a lot of content recently, to be fair. Like we've done a lot
Jesse
of.
Plemons is great. That's
He's
all I'm trying
great.
to say. He
Yeah.
play he plays bad people, but I'm sure he's a great guy, and I want to see him play more great guys.
On the subject of Jesse Plemons, I kind of felt that the villain presence in the film was very underwhelming, especially compared to the protagonists in the film. Not that they were especially bad, but there's Jesse Plemons and the German army, and then there's sort of these Spanish sort of, I don't know what the word is, like invaders or
Conquistadors.
inquisitors, yeah, sort of like these explorers. And you know the film tries to build this sort of multi-layered narrative. Paul Giamatti's character is kind of a bad guy and stuff, and you've got Jesse Plemons and these other fellas. And I felt like the film just couldn't make its mind up as to who they wanted to be the main villain, because there's a large proportion throughout the film where this section is for the Germans, this one's for the Spanish explorers, and then it just gets confused. Like there's not much time where they all share the screen, and I kind of felt like for me it was just confused as to who it wanted to what direction to go down. Really, is how I felt.
Hmm. One thing that you told me you were sort of worried about going in was Jack Whitehall, because
Yes, yeah,
I've been a fan of his comedy in the past, but hearing that he was going to be playing a flamboyantly gay character, it gave me some some pause, I suppose. And there was backlash online. I was interested to see what how that was going to play out. And I think he was fine, honestly. I think his character's completely useless. And I wish he had sort of added more to the trio dynamic. And I'm disappointed with Disney for not playing the character as unequivocally gay. He dances around the topic. In particular, in one conversation that he has with The Rock. And I think just when you do a half measure like this, you just piss off the people that you're trying to represent. And I would say it's a step in the right direction. They've had openly gay characters in the past, so I mean, I don't know what stopped them here, but I feel like it comes across as more tokenism than representation. I mean, you're not even declaring the character as gay.
yes, certainly. I kind of felt for me. I think Jack Whitehall is decent in his performance. I felt like the film's depiction of his character, it kind of came off to me as sort of one of these old-fashioned stereotypes that isn't necessarily true. And anymore he's like overly flamboyant and things like that. And I kind of do feel, yeah, like it probably would piss off that group of people you're trying to represent, given that it is such an old-fashioned stereotype. Um,
I
but
mean, I'd say that's not the I don't think the fact that he's playing a stereotypically gay character is the issue. I think it's that
mm,
he's a stereotypically gay character who they do not identify as gay.
yeah,
I think it's just a series of missteps.
yeah, and we definitely had that conversation outside the cinema as well. As maybe it was a better idea having an actual gay actor themselves playing
Yeah,
the role. But yeah, it's certainly a misstep in there potentially as well. But one thing I thought about the film as well, we had quite a sort of said about was the CGI as well. And there's compared to the average sort of live action Disney film, there's quite a lot of it actually. There's bits and bobs of prosthetics, but I guess when you're going to set your film in the Amazon rainforest like this one did, of course you're going to have CGI. So I do get
yeah,
that. But for the most part, I didn't think there was anything out of this world about it. But there was nothing really like I it was so bad I had to like wash my eyes afterwards. But there's maybe a few pieces here and there which I thought was maybe noticeably not up to the scale maybe that it should have been personally.
yeah. Yeah, the two big criticisms that I've heard, actually coming from critics themselves, was the overuse of CGI and the screenplay, which neither of which I took issue with. I think the CGI, there being an abundance of it, that being a criticism is bizarre. As you said, I mean, like what else are you gonna do? I mean, I don't think you can magic up like a conquistador like covered in honey with his bones exposed, without
Yeah.
touching it up a little with CGI. I think they did look a bit rubbery, or not as tangible. That there was a level of uncanny valley there where it was so close to human, but it wasn't quite there. That it kind of bothered me a little. But with things like was it a Jaguar? Yes. Things like the Jaguar, that being CGI, I didn't really take issue with. And can I just say, like, it's insane that The Rock fighting a Jaguar isn't the most ridiculous thing he's done in his career on screen.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, he's been a half scorpion man, and even as a human, when he fell out of that building in Fast and Furious 6, I think it was, or it was 7.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's had a fantastic CV of sort of extraordinary things that have happened to his characters. You know what I mean? And I'm sure his performance as Black Adam will be added to the list as well. I'm really excited to see what
Yeah.
he does there.
I mean, I saw the Jaguar fight and like I laughed, obviously. I mean, no one else was laughing, which, I really was confused by. No one else laughed when he like, got stabbed and like, seemed to be falling to his death either.
Yeah,
Like whenever he like smacked his head on the
yeah,
rocks, like I just cackled and like everybody else there was just silent. And
yeah.
I'm kind of confused because I mean, is that meant to be funny? I don't know. But the Jaguar thing, I was just like, it was concerning. I was just like, yeah, seems about right.
Yeah, it seems like a very classic thing to happen in one of his movies, doesn't it? On the subject of The Rock, actually, I was watching a Greg Doucette video about him, and
Okay.
during like a press release for this movie, like they were doing one of those wired autocomplete interviews,
Mm.
and someone had had noticed that like he doesn't have abs, which weirdly I didn't really think about it, but it just goes to show you, like this is such a off topic, but it's
No,
we
I watched the More Plays More Dates video about this, so
yeah,
I
it's
I,
it's
I
an
am
interesting
I'm
because
familiar.
it seems to be doing being quite popular on YouTube at the minute about that whole thing on his physique. But yeah, like to be fair, he definitely works hard on it. Although there's not your classic sort of shirtless rock scene in this film, if that I can recall anyway.
It
I'm
would have
not
been
too
would have
sure.
been quite easy to squeeze that in. To be fair,
Yeah, you would have thought so. You would have thought so. But yeah, you know what? Like I think The
I
Rock
mean,
did,
I
of
want to talk about the Rock's abs for a minute, if you're okay with that.
course. Yeah, of
You brought it
course.
up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I watched the video. More Plays More Dates. Derek was talking about it, and in the interview, he rips it off and it says, "What's wrong with the Rock's abs?" And he just goes, "Oh, that's a pretty fucked up question." And then Derek was sort of questioning why that's fucked up, and I'm like, well, I mean, it's the word wrong, say, why are the Rock's, abs that shape? Why doesn't he have defined abs or something? But the phrase "what's wrong with the Rock's abs" that is fucked up.
Yeah,
It's body shaming of a sort,
it's
and I
insulting.
don't
Yeah.
think I don't think because he's an actor and because he puts his body out there, makes it open to criticism. I think uh a person can't do anything about their genetics.
Yeah, and it's funny because like I still think he's still like in incredible shape. It's not as if this guy's out of shape and or anything like that. Like this guy is a specimen of a human being. It just goes to show you how high some people hold celebrities like him to that kind of standard. Because he's not he's not a bodybuilder or anything. I don't think he's ever done bodybuilding. So and I don't know. I kind of felt sympathy for him because I thought that was just the wording of the question. I know it's like a wired autocomplete one, so they don't plenty have full control over the questions, but I don't know. It's maybe something I would have cut out. It wasn't maybe the best question they could have asked.
Yeah, I mean, it gave a lot of people a lot of clickbait
Yeah,
headlines. To be fair,
certainly. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Greg Doucette and Derek definitely
and
definitely
like
left that up.
dozens of news outlets.
Yeah, yeah, there you go as well. I know. Um, no,
So
go ahead.
I,
Sorry, yes,
I
go
would
ahead, man.
imagine a big talking point about this film is the twist regarding the Rock's identity.
Hmm.
And I did not see it coming whatsoever. Did you have any inkling?
No, I thought there was potentially going to be something with him, but I definitely didn't think it was going to be anything like what the film suggested. What did you think of it personally, mate? Because I really enjoyed it.
Well, throughout, I was wondering why Lily would be interested in him, despite the fact that he looks like The Rock. Because he's rude and she's more capable than he is. So I didn't really see what he added to that dynamic other than sort of casual sexism. So I thought he was rather unexceptional. And then I think the film arrived with a good reason for him to seem admirable in her eyes because he defending the village against his friends because he knew they were in the wrong, and he became an admirable character in that moment. And I didn't see it coming whatsoever. I think yeah, as you said, him being a villainous presence, it wouldn't have been as surprising because he had sort of shown cracks of there being something about him earlier on. But, in addition to like him, being the cartographer, and that it was his map all along.
Yeah,
I think that really added a lot of depth to it.
yeah, certainly did, Callum. I think for me is one thing as well. What was that? That's maybe why I was kind of a little bit not disappointed. That's not the right word, but like I was a little bit surprised that they actually bring him to London by the end. Usually with these kind of films, a stranger enters you know the locals environment and becomes like Tarzan and Jane comes to mind there. Where like it's actually set during sort of the same sort of time. Not sure if it was like Victorian England or not, but to be fair, I think the film that's a good little subversion did there. I suppose a lot of people would have expected, Emily Blunt and Jack Whitehall to stay with Frank, but no, they don't. They go to London, and I was kind of caught in two minds because I kind of really liked that, but at the same time, he's sort of left that village in the Amazon that he was living in for 400 years. It's a little bit sort of bittersweet, I guess, is the word I'm looking for there.
Yeah, that's interesting because I mean, it never crossed my mind that they would stay in Brazil because I thought, oh well, if he does choose to live and live his life with Lily, then he'd probably want to go beyond where he's lived his whole life. I mean, somehow he's managed to keep an American accent, despite coming from Spain, I believe, and then staying in Brazil for 400 years. Somehow developed that American accent. Not going to question it. Whatever. I mean, he's presumably never seen a film or met many Americans, but for the film's sake, I will not poo-poo that too
He's the
too
Rock.
harshly. But
Yeah,
it was funny seeing this like muscle man like stuffed into like a boxy suit and trying to fit in a car like that.
yeah,
That was pretty funny.
yeah,
I think it might have been nicer to have them stay in Brazil because it was the town that he built, the place that he loved. He seemed to love giving the jungle cruises, and then maybe they could show that Lily's we see Lily's defiance of the invitation to join the society by the end, but then I suppose that a bigger fuck you would have been having her research benefit Brazil and show that maybe there was a level a bigger level of open-mindedness there.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Yeah.
not really sure what the attitudes were at the time. But I feel like a bigger fuck you to that society would be to give her research to someone else.
Yeah, certainly. I kind of thought the same as well. And I really do, on the subject of that, I really did like the way the film kind of presented him as a fish out of water when it comes to sort of modern technology. The film actually does a really clever thing a few times with like the old fashioned camera. And it sort of takes you out of the film for a second when it shows you that from the camera's perspective. I think that's a really smart way of shooting a scene. Personally, I don't think I've ever really seen that before. I don't think. It's actually something I think the 1999 Disney Tarzan did a little bit, if I can remember correctly. So I can see why those comparisons can come in there. But yeah, bro. I don't have anything more to say on the film. Anything from you?
Well, one final thing is, when I heard in going that when I went in hearing that there was going to be a romance between Emily Blunt and The Rock, I didn't really see it. For whatever
Yeah,
reason,
me neither.
I just couldn't see. I couldn't see a chemistry there. But it's undeniable. I think once you see the film, I sort of expected it. Even if it went well, I expected it to be like Edge of Tomorrow. Obviously not in tone or story, specifically about the romance, that their romance would be sort of nonsensical, and forced and
Yeah,
unnecessary.
yeah.
I really just thought it was sweet and it absolutely worked for me.
Yeah, I think it might definitely, because I think in my head I'm so used to seeing Emily Blunt with John Krasinski, then anyone else seems a bit unnatural, especially with him being another actor. So yeah, I think both are just so likable that I'm not surprised it didn't work, but in the same way I am, because they seem so different too. So yeah, I mean I actually thought I think there could be a potential sequel here. I'm not sure if that's in the works, whatever, but if this film does well, especially with it not being as such from being an adaptation of an older film. It's more of a fresh idea from the Disney ride. I can't see why there wouldn't be a sequel. Um,
Mm.
but
Yeah, I think it's loosely based on a film called the African Queen. I think if I'm remembering correctly.
okay, cool.
They take the very vague sort of pairing, but between like the skipper and the lady, as that stereotype would have been back then.
Yeah,
But is subverted here. I'm hugely keen for a sequel. I loved it.
yeah,
I came out of it and I was like, that had had no reason to be as good as it was, and somehow it just blew my expectations out of the water, and I don't know whether it was because they were so rock bottom, that it just really rose to it. I went in saying I'm wanting Dora and the Lost City of Gold from this. I don't think you quite got there, but I think it I don't think it hit like the meme quality of Dora and the Lost City of Gold, but I think it probably surpasses it in objective quality.
yeah. I think that's certainly fair. And on that note, Calman, I'll ask you the classic question: is it a massive hit or a piece of shit?
It's a massive hit, obviously. People had issue with the abundance of CGI. My only issue probably would have been the quality. I do think the Conquistadors is a bit questionable. I thought the romance was great. The performances were great. I think some of the handling of Jack Whitehall's character, you know, you could question it a little. I think it was maybe poorly handled. But aside from that, I find great enjoyment from it. It was 2 hours well spent, I thought.
Yeah, certainly. I'd have to concur. I think it's a massive hit. I think The Rock, he loves these type of movies, doesn't he? These sort of action jungle adventure films. So he's definitely comfortable
Mhm.
here. It's not anything outside of his wheelhouse. But I think for me, this is probably one of his better sort of adventure films. It's certainly up there with the first Jumanji for me. I really, really like that one. So yeah, I mean,
Do you not like the second one?
I haven't seen it. I actually haven't seen it.
Okay.
So I would definitely like to watch it. But yeah, I mean, I think this film really, really charming leads. Jack Whitehall, haven't had time to reflect on it. I think he's good. I think he's
I think
okay
he's
here.
good, yeah.
I think he's good. And I think there's a lot to like here. It's not perfect. The villain presence is quite weak, but in my opinion. But yeah, I think this is a film that people would really enjoy. With your family or with your partner, definitely go see it. I would recommend it. If you can, and restrictions apply. So, yeah. Um, yeah, I mean that wraps up another mini review on the channel. Thanks very much for your time today, bro. Appreciate it,
Thank
and
you.
hope you guys enjoyed. If you want to check out our other Disney reviews or any of our 2021 movie reviews, this will be added to the playlist there. And of course, our mini review playlist has all of our reviews of single movies. So be sure to check out that one. We're probably approaching, I don't know how many mini reviews we've done now, maybe like 50 to 70, I'm guessing, quite a lot. But
Quite high, I'd imagine.
yeah, stay tuned to the channel as well. This week for hopefully we're doing another themed episode in the podcast. We're doing like mysteries. So that'll be a fun one. We'll not tell you which films it is, in line with
Hmm.
the theme. We'll keep it a surprise.
I
But
have
I'm
to
really,
imagine most people will have seen one of them at least.
yeah, certainly. But yeah, I'm really excited for that one too. And yeah, I think also we might be bringing back Cash for the Kissing Booth 3. We love doing those reviews with our pal. So yeah,
It
hopefully,
was a big hit. Those ones, because
yeah,
I think those are the ones that sort of got our friends' attention. Because
yeah,
I think a lot of people our age sort of watch that in the way that they watch Riverdale. Where I mean, it's
yeah,
kind of, well, I mean, it's obviously terrible. But there is a guilty pleasure value there that
yeah,
I think most
certainly,
teenagers are able to say.
million percent, million percent. But yeah,
And at
hope
this point, sadly, we're adults.
I
So
know.
so we're watching the Kissing Booth 3 next week. Lucky us.
I know, cannot wait. Yeah, schedule it in your calendars, guys. It's gonna be a good one. But yeah, hope you guys are all well. Your family and friends will keep them safe and well too. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye.